first.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great time and thanks for making it so much fun.
Yeah, thank you as well, and good luck on Wednesday with England. All right, here we go. The Blitz has started.
Has started. Magnus Carlsen with the white pieces. He opens with the king's pawn. We're going to see the Spanish opening. He's putting pressure on the black knight, retreating his bishop there. This is all very standard stuff. White castling. He'll defend his central pawn now. White central pawn under attack. Black's going to hurry to get his king to safety. And what will we see from Magnus Carlsen? Okay, he pushes a pawn in the center, just one square. This is again very normal. Both sides have an enormous amount of experience in this exact position. They've played it several times before. Very tense with all pieces and pawns on the board. White has slightly more control of the center, especially with his pawns. Black finally castling his king. And Magnus, he initiates some activity, some threats on this left flank, trying to undermine one of the black pawns that has advanced the furthest. So Ding will most likely either move that pawn or protect it. Ding has a lot of experience from the black side. Magnus has experience from the white and black side. So maybe Magnus with a slight edge in terms of general understanding and just general experience in these positions. Lots of maneuvers, not too much changing yet. Both sides are putting their pieces, getting ready for the action that's about to happen.
Yeah, the players are playing incredibly quickly. I mean, this is good kind of news for Magnus and Ding because they're able to accumulate an extra time in preparation for the middle game. And okay, so Ding tucking the bishop back, and the bishop might even maneuver itself to another diagonal.
Yeah, the bishop tends to be in the way sometimes where it did stand, so black just retreating that as a protector of the black king. Magnus just again taking squares, taking territory, staying flexible. That's the key in Blitz quite often. You stay flexible. It's actually easier and quicker if you just react to what your opponent does. It takes a lot of time investment to be creative, and that's what Ding's trying to do now. Maybe push a pawn forward in the middle, knights back, maybe re-maneuver one of those white knights.
Yeah, I'm expecting that as well. It's the main move. Okay, but Magnus instead, he adopts one of his favorite strategies, and it's a very effective one actually, which is expanding as much as possible on the left. He's been very, very effective there, and it's a kind of newish idea. Hasn't been played before, but certainly we've seen it in operation before from Magnus.
Yep, so in this exact position, a rare move from Magnus, but in general, a very well-known plan from him. And black's knight stepping back. Some viewers might wonder, why is that knight retreating to what looks like a passive square? Actually, that black knight didn't have a future where it did stand. It wasn't attacking anything, couldn't jump forward, so black's rerouting his knight towards the king side in front of the black king as a potential defender. Magnus occupying the center with his pawns now. Both sides being very classical, very logical play so far. Magnus brings his knight that way. I thought the white knight maybe would step back towards his king. Traditionally, that's a very safe plan, but no, Magnus thinks there's more of a future for his knight on the left side of the board. White tends to have a tiny advantage in these types of positions because he has two pawns in the middle, black only has one, and white can choose any time when to make a trade or when to advance. But yeah. Ding fighting for the open line.
Yeah, talking about making a trade, well, Ding's offered a trade of rooks just now. So, okay, so if I were white, I would say no. And I do like Magnus's move, just like stepping the bishop forward and getting ready maybe to step forward with the queen and connect the rooks.
Yeah, so Magnus allowing that trade, but it's on his terms. White's queen will most likely go across there. And now the white queen occupies an open line. Black's queen.
Ooh. The queen and bishop are lined up on a diagonal. Maybe, just maybe, one day that bishop will sacrifice itself over on the right, and well, then we will have absolute carnage.
Yep, so there was a potential sacrifice in the air on the h3 square, so the pawn in front of the white king right now, but the white king is defending that pawn, is keeping all of the pawns around it defended. That was probably a pretty much forced move there. By Magnus, otherwise he would have come under heavy fire.
Yeah.
So the black knight's now trying to get into the game. Magnus shifting his bishop over to the king.
Yep, and I was going to say, just Ding should just put one of his knights onto a dream f4 square, and Magnus really takes that potential attack very, very seriously, and that's why he drops his light square bishop back to defend against any potential sacrifices on those light squares around the king.
Yep, so shaky from Magnus, but efficient so far, defending everything and asking Ding, what are you going to do, Nick, for Magnus Carlsen?
One thing I would definitely do is I would clarify in the center.
You would?
Yeah, what would you, David?
I was going to say no, but Magnus agrees with you, Ivanka.
Okay.
He did trade a set of pawns there, so now actually the pawn structure is completely symmetrical. It's all about piece play now. No imbalances in terms of the pawns. White now with his bishop just controlling some squares. think about it, the more I like it actually, this decision, because now white does have squares, does have access into the position. That knight was too strong, had to be traded off.
And now bishop takes bishop. Looks like the most... Ooh, but look at that. Magnus, with a different idea in mind, he plays pawn takes bishop. Wow.
Yeah, very surprising, because white has doubled his own pawns voluntarily.
How pressing is it to just move one of the knights? Maybe could you just perhaps take... Okay.
Yep, this was the move I was expecting, just to defend all the pawns. Black's central pawn was a bit tender, only defended by one knight, so Ding taking control of some dark squares as soon as he's parted with his dark square bishop. I expect to see white's rook maybe reach an open line now. Maybe it's time for one of those queen...
No, I mean, I like this move. The rook now gets involved in the game. You know, Magnus likes to use every single piece. So, okay, now it's time for your knight to relocate itself, or some trades to happen.
Yeah, it's not easy to see where those black knights go. That's the issue. Like, they will get hit later on, and Ding Liren, he doesn't find a way to improve his pieces too much, so he thinks, okay, the black king maybe needs to be the most urgent one that can improve, and now white's rook looking fantastic.
It is now looking absolutely amazing. I mean, now there's going to be some heavy pressure against that backward pawn, and this is why Ding, not necessarily feeling comfortable in his position, decides just to activate and just create chaos.
Yeah, he shook his head there. He realizes that there was nothing, but often that's effective in blitz chess.
Yeah.
And Magnus, he can't really afford this long a think. This is actually why I mentioned I like Ding's move, because it does initiate this real tension and a big decision for Magnus. But Magnus has spent half his time on this one move. He had a huge time advantage actually, and that's all gone now. He's down on the clock, just over a minute. Bishop takes knight.
Bishop takes knight, okay.
Okay, so giving up the bishop pair, but getting rid of a potentially dangerous black knight.
Okay, so the most natural move is actually just to play knight takes bishop. Knight takes bishop and say, yes, you got rid of one knight, great. Another one is coming.
Okay, so black, that's the most active plan to improve the black knight, but you would have to work out what happened, because black would have given up a central pawn in that case. Black decides to trade, but recapture with his pawn. So that pawn no longer under fire, but you're not approving, Ivanka.
No, because I do feel that when it comes to rapid chess, I mean, you have to speed up the momentum, and again, focus not on playing the most perfect move, you should be playing the most practical moves. And I feel like going forward, generating activity with your pieces is the most important thing there is. I mean, just look at the consequence of that pawn capture, because suddenly, look at white's knight in the center, dream piece. And you can see Ding shaking his head. He doesn't like his position at all. And oh, look, pressure on those light squares. I mean, what? You know, Magnus is really turning the corkscrew here. You know, so many problems for Ding along those light squares.
Yeah, white's move there, just shifting the queen across one square. It looks nice and innocent, it looks naive, but the queen again sliding across one square. That queen just can't decide where it wants to be. But note how the queen's attacking something on every turn. That white queen now attacking a black pawn across the diagonal. And black has one undefended pawn in his camp, the white queen going after it. Very nasty stuff. Magnus really amping up the pressure. And how can black defend that pawn? It's not easy. If black continues pushing pawns in front of the black king is going to become a huge target. And okay, the bishop stepping back. What's stopping white from taking that pawn?
Take it. Nothing, David.
Okay, he takes another pawn first.
Takes another pawn, that doesn't matter. It doesn't change the scheme of things.
Ding, he knows he's in trouble. He's shaking his head there. White about to unleash his queen. The queen is about to join the party. White's queen can jump out and take a pawn, and then the black king is going to be in huge trouble.
Yeah,
look how safe white's king is with 3 pawns around it. Black's king is about to really become open. And the black queen, meanwhile, helpless, unable to join the party herself.
And we are under that minute on the clock, which means always a lot of fun in the blitz games.
And unfortunately, it is Ding that is suffering, because he just has over 30 seconds on the clock, and Magnus is being relentless. I mean, he's just torturing Ding along the back row. You know, I love it, that queen move, because now the big threat is actually to maybe potentially, push the pawn forward at the right time.
Yeah, white lining up the queen with the black king. That is a key concept here. And it's just all these shuffles with the queen. Queens are long-range pieces as well as dynamic attackers. And okay, Ding now, desperation. Look at the evaluation bar, plus 8.8. The black rook is going to try and act as maybe a defender of the black king, but rooks aren't great defenders, they're not great blockaders. As you mentioned, white's pawn can step up, and that would be a discovered check. White's queen hitting the black king. That looks deadly.
Yeah, I'd also be tempted to jump in with my knight. I'm spoiled for choice.
Centralise the white queen. That's Magnus's style all over.
Yeah.
And okay, black trying to hold things together with the black queen, but the black queen looks overworked. She's protecting a knight, she's protecting a bishop. It feels like just one move will break the defenses now if Magnus is accurate.
And
Your move.
he jumps in with the knight, and Ding retreats the knight. There's nothing for it. And what a commanding performance! And wow,
Checkmate is
checkmate's
coming.
on the board. And is there any way? There's no way to defend against it.
No, Ding resigns. The white queen was about to jump in across the diagonal, supported by the white bishop, to trap the black king.
After winning 3 games in the Rapid today.